Alright, look, this video isn't edited because it is an emergency broadcast. Every time I say that it's not edited, it is edited a little more than I thought it would be. So, let's see how edited this unedited video is. Roll the intro and get ready to hear pretty much what you heard last video. Look, there has been a huge update on the whole cost of living crisis thing that has slipped under the radar. All you have heard it from is the business community's business internal notes that they seem to publish publicly, which is the Financial Review. Look at this. Scores more IR changes make bad bill worse. You probably don't know what that means. Neither do I, reading the headline. It's very coded. But we will get into that for a second, but I just need to make this point clear. You know how you're just saying Anthony Albanese's approval rating nosedive? This is exactly what happened to Kevin Rudd. This is what is happening to Anastasia Palaszczuk right now. Everybody is going to have their own reasons for that. They're all going to be sitting there and saying, it's because they're not focusing enough on this specific thing I want them to focus on. But the thing is, look, you are not the mining council. You are not the business council. These are the ones that get to decide what you're focusing on. They're the ones that are putting out tens of millions of dollars excoriating the Labour Party. Labour Party. And I make fun of people all the time for saying Labour. They are pissed that the Labour Party is daring to ask corporate Australia to pay the wages that they're supposed to pay legally. That is what the Closing the Loophole Bill is all about. We are talking about, look at this, over $130 billion in unpaid overtime in this country. You want to talk about a reason for the cost of living crisis in this country? I would wager that a major factor in the fact that people can't afford things is because they don't have money. I'm not an economist, it's just a hunch that I have. You know how we were saying in the previous video that it is all about corporate profits going bzzz, and then that's causing inflation? Well, I'm saying exactly the same thing here, but we're just going on to the flip side of that which is when corporate profits go up, you know where they're getting that from? You know what most of that is from? For them just going like, look at the graph, it just keeps going up. We're the most genius business people of all time. How? How did you make these incredible profits during a cost of living crisis? We didn't pay our workers. Genius. Well done, round of applause. Well, yep, all right. Pay rises all around for us, none for the workers. That's what's happening in every board in the country. Yeah? And because the Labour Party dares say to corporations, can you stop breaking the law? We can't have that. Nah. Time to bring in Dutton. He's the man that's going to solve the cost of living crisis. The guy that you can see the graph of wages going like this. OECD, as we pointed out in the previous video, not a hippie body by any stretch of the imagination, run by fucking Matthias Cormann, who used to be a liberal hack, right? And let's be honest, still is. But at least now he's in a different body, so he's not making the usual lie of, oh, it's because unions exist, that's why there's a cost of living crisis. He's like the exact opposite reason. He's like, no, it's basically because corporate profits are soaring and no one has any money to pay, and there is a huge imbalance in the economy, pretty much because the Liberals, ever since Howard, have been slowly eating away at industrial relations, slowly stripping away unions' rights, until they can't go on site anymore, until they can't collectively bargain in an effective way, making it hard to join your union, just allowing workers to die on site like they did with the Australian Building and Construction Commission. That was a fun one. All of these things, allowing all of these things to be stripped away under what we had under Hawke Keating, which was this nice equilibrium that kept us, and this is almost world first. There's virtually no country on earth that has ever experienced 30 years of growth where your wages increased and beat inflation the entire time. That is as good as you could possibly get to an economy that is just ticking over. It's another year, everything's fine. That's as close as you could get. That has been stripped away because of that imbalance that these corporate bigwigs have been slowly drilling into the economy with keeping the Liberals in power, slowly getting rid of workers' rights like this. And all these IR reforms are doing is putting that balance back in order. That is what corporate Australia is furious about. How dare a Workers' Party stand up for workers? Now, you will never, ever in the press, as you can plainly see, there's not many articles written about these huge shifts. This is Labor, as people on Twitter would say, doubling down on increasing workers' rights in this country. Just a massive expansion of powers that they're fucking shitting themselves about. I mean, look at this quote here. This is like a Clark and Dorr sketch. Listen to this. Unions will have even broader powers to seek Fair Work Commission orders to capture businesses in same job, same pay. Isn't that incredible? She is saying that if Labor's closing the loopholes bill is passed, big business will no longer be able to suck $130 billion off of workers by exploiting loopholes. Them not being able to exploit loopholes is, quote, sneaky and underhanded. Well, Brian, the Minerals Council has been very constructive in this industrial relations overhaul. It's well overdue. It only has one problem. What's that? It reforms industrial relations. Right, so you're not pro-reforming industrial relations. No, we're pro the industrial relations reform, but there has to be ways for us to get around the industrial relations reform. It's incredible how blatant the Financial Review is because nobody except the business community reads the Financial Review, so they just get to say things like, look at this headline. Labor told not to stack RBA board. A very chilling tale of things to come. And who warned them of not stacking the RBA? Oh, the guy that the RBA is stacked in favour of right now. Great. You see, this is my major point about the propaganda model in this country, which is that newspapers are scripts that all the dodos on radio and television just regurgitate. They are going to be picking out these points. You will see a doubling down of all of this foo-furore about, Labor's not addressing the cost of living crisis, and it'll all be coming from all of these execs in all of these lobby groups that have their own extremely powerful unions. Never forget that. All of these lobby groups, like the Minerals Council, like the Business Council, that is a union, but just between like 20 fucking fat cats in the Qantas lounge. Yeah, like they must be heard. That's them. So they want to have unions stacked in their favour. That's all these laws are doing. It's just stacking up very special niche interest groups unions with unions that represent 95% of Australia, minimum. Yeah, that's all that's happening here. And as a result, they are getting slammed for it. Now, my other point that I really want to make clear, because I'm telling you, this is the fight. This is the huge fight that is going to characterise the entire Albanese first term. It's just trying to get that restorative order back so that you're getting paid what you're owed. That's the big fight that's happening here. Yeah? And so there will be a bunch of different things, like renewables. I see a lot of this currently all of a sudden that, oh my God, Labor's done nothing on Medicare, yeah? The biggest overhaul since it was started is nothing. Increasing the co-payment threefold, huge increase in bulk billing. That's nothing. Same with the voice. The voice, for some reason, is linked to cost of living every time. $400 million wasted on the voice. Nothing on cost of living. No focus whatsoever. Yeah, that's all the government is. Just Anthony Albanese sitting there all day, every day. Nope, not allowed to think about anything else. His brain has to focus on one issue, and that's the government. Nothing else, just that. And also $400 million. Fuck off. We are talking about $130 billion that you're owed. We're not talking about tax. That's, like the people at the bottom are not paying for the voice. This is, they should be getting what they're owed from business. That's what's happening here. What I'm saying is all these little side quest attacks that you will start seeing linked to the Albanese government, it all comes from one source, and it is because the big business lobbies of this country decided to press the button. Nah, we're not going to make him popular anymore. We're going to sink this government. And the reason that they did that is because the last Liberal government was such a clown show, even the bigwigs of Australia realised, no, we actually need a government in control because we are coming up against turbulent economic headwinds. So they weren't as critical as they normally are of a Labor government to Anthony Albanese. They let him in, they gave him this honeymoon period. But now the honeymoon period has ended, and you'll always see this every time. The honeymoon period's over. The reason that the honeymoon period is over is because the Albanese government is trying to correct this massive turbulent time in the economy in what he can do, because remember, he is just a national government, this is a global crisis, but one massive thing that he can do is make sure that workers are paid what they're owed. And that is a bridge too far for corporate Australia. They won't allow it. And so now they're coming up with all of these attacks in different little angles. But it is all stemming back to this. This is the source. So I want you to be hyper aware of this in the oncoming months. It's going to get really heavy. And I thought, damn, this is going to be tough for the Albanese government to get through, when I saw that they were even doing the closing the loophole bill in the first place. But now they've put in 100 new amendments that strengthen it even more. I mean, I'm sick to death of people saying that they're not a gutsy government. That is as gutsy as you can possibly get. This is the big fight. This is what's going to characterise the Australian economy. If this doesn't pass, if Jackie Lambie and David Pocock just keep sidelining it for whatever reason, and look, I do love the guys, but they're a bit, aren't they? You can tell the reason they're on the right side with the housing bill stuff is purely because community housing groups got into their room first and said, yeah, it's a good idea. And they're like, yeah, okay. And then because this is the thing that corporate Australia cares about, they made sure that their lobbyist was Usain Bolt. I wouldn't be surprised if they spent like 100 million just to get him in his Nikes. Okay, they're passing industrial relations. Go, Usain, go. Don't pass it. Yeah, okay. As we were saying in the previous video, if this massive disequilibrium in the economy isn't corrected, if Labor is not allowed to pass these IR changes, this is what you start seeing with those slippery slopes where you get into the position that Britain and America are, where it's like, yeah, they're developed nations, kind of, but they do look a fucking lot like Bangkok when you go to the inner city of these places. This is because once workers have lost their earning power to the degree that they are all essentially casualised, again, this is what this is trying to stop, the casualisation of the workforce, the what? They're not permanent staff. Yeah, but they've been working there for 10 years. They're casuals, fuck off. When that is allowed to continue for a long period of time, and then the average person can't afford shit, when they start losing their earning power, that really starts to erode democracy. It's a big fight. Anyway, like and subscribe, and also come see my show at the Central Coast and in Sydney. This is the last opportunity that you get to see what really happened in the Bruz saga, which was all the juicy stuff that I can't say publicly. So I say it publicly in a closed room. Seriously though, shut the fuck up if you come see that show.